Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are learning about action verbs and direct and indirect objects. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to identify action verbs, direct objects and indirect objects. Plus, you will get to practice with me. My name is Alisa, your English teacher, and if you are ready, let's get started. First, let's learn what are action verbs. An action verb shows what someone or something does. It can be a physical action like run, jump, eat, or a mental action like think, believe, or imagine. So one more time, it can be a physical action like run or jump, or a mental action like think or imagine. Let's take a look at the examples of action verbs in sentences. She writes a letter. Writes is a verb that shows physical action. So writes is an action verb because it shows physical action. She is the subject and a letter is the object. What does she write? A letter. She writes a letter. Subject, action verb, and object. She believes his story. Believes is mental action. It's a verb that shows mental action. So believes is an action verb. She is the subject. His story is an object. What does she believe? His story. That's why it's an object. So we have the subject, action verb, and object. Now, can you write an action verb in the comments? What is something you did today? So now we know what action verbs are. Let's learn what is a direct object. A direct object receives the action of the verb. It answers what or whom. For example, she bought a book. What did she buy? A book. A book is a direct object. So let's do everything step by step. Bought is an action verb because it shows a physical action. Then she is the subject. Then what did she buy? A book. It's a direct object because it answers the question what. She bought what? What did she buy? A book. Let's take a look at this example. She called her friend. Called is an action verb. So called is a physical action. She actually called, right? That's why it's an action verb. She is the subject. She called whom or whom did she call? Her friend. Her friend is a direct object. Whom did she call? Her friend. So that's why her friend is a direct object. One more time. A direct object receives the action of the verb, right? And it answers the questions what or whom, as in these examples that we have just read with you. Now it's practice time. Find the direct object in this sentence. He reads a newspaper. Type your answer in the comments. He reads a newspaper. Please find the direct object in this sentence. Now, what is an indirect object? An indirect object tells to whom or for whom the action is done. It comes before the direct object. For example, she gave her brother a gift. So, gave is an action verb because it shows a physical action of giving, right? She gave. Then she is the subject. She gave what? What did she give? A gift. So this is a direct object. Then to whom did she give a gift? To her brother. so it's an indirect object. Her brother is an indirect object. One more time. What did she give? What? A gift. It's a direct object. And then we ask, to whom did she give a gift? Her brother is an indirect object. So now we see that an indirect object tells to whom the action is done. Let's take a look at this example. He made me a cup of coffee. So made is an action verb. He is the subject. Then what did he make? A cup of coffee. It's a direct object. And then for whom did he make a cup of coffee? Me, for me. It's an indirect object. So me is an indirect object because it tells for whom the action is done. Now, quick trick. If you can rewrite the sentence with to or for, it has an indirect object. She gave her brother a gift. Now, we can rewrite this sentence as she gave a gift to her brother. So what do you think? What is the indirect object in these sentences? She gave her brother a gift. She gave a gift to whom? To her brother. That's why her brother is an indirect object. Let's take a look at this example. He made me a cup of coffee. What is an indirect object in this sentence? He made a cup of coffee for me. For whom? For me. That's why me is an indirect object. So if you can rewrite the sentence with to or for, it has an indirect object, as in these examples. And now it's time for you to practice. Can you rewrite this sentence using to or for? He bought me a coffee. Please write your answer in the comments below. Can you write this sentence? Can you find the indirect object in this sentence? So now, after you learned what direct and indirect objects are, you may ask me, how does understanding direct and indirect objects impact conversation? What is the point of me learning the difference between direct and indirect objects? So, knowing how to use direct and indirect objects correctly makes conversations clearer and more natural. Without them, sentences can sound incomplete or confusing. Here's why they matter. So, first of all, clear communication. If you say, she gave a gift, people might ask, to whom? Adding the indirect object makes it clear. She gave her friend a gift. So her friend is an indirect object. Another point, more natural sentences. Native speakers naturally use both objects in everyday speech. Can you send me an email? Not just can you send an email. Native speakers usually say, can you send me an email? So they use both direct and indirect objects in their sentences. Now let's take a look at common mistakes. First of all, using the wrong word order. If you say, he told to me a secret, it's going to be wrong. The correct way to say this, he told me a secret. Not he told to me, but he told me a secret. Please remember, when using both objects, put the indirect objects first, without to or for. So you just need to memorize it. When using both direct and indirect objects, put the indirect object first. Like me, he told me. Me is an indirect object. So put it first without to or for. You shouldn't say he told to me. It's wrong. So you should say he told me and then what? A secret. And then use a direct object. Another common mistake is forgetting the indirect object. She gave a book. This sounds incomplete. She gave a book to whom? She gave me a book. So this is a correct way to say it. She gave me a book. Another mistake is using to or for when not needed. I sent to her a message. This is wrong. The correct way to say this is I sent her a message. I sent her a message without to. Or you can reword this sentence as we just learned at the beginning of this lesson. You can say, I sent a message to her. So if you want to use to, then you need to put indirect object after direct object. So if you use first indirect object like I sent her and then direct object a message, then you shouldn't use to or for before an indirect object, before her. But if you want to use to or for, then you need to switch. First, you should use a direct object. I sent what? A message. And then an indirect object. To whom? To her. I sent a message to her. Just be attentive at this point. Great job! Thank you for learning English with me. If you enjoyed this lesson, please remember to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and leave your comments below. And I'll see you in my next videos. See you soon. Take care.